Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first April 2023 Cataloging Special Interest Group meeting of Koha-US. There's going to be another one at a later time, so hopefully other people can make it, and hopefully everyone here can make it too. That one's going to be on April 27th. And as ever, go to koha-us.org and select the events tab and the calendar link to get the link to join us. And this week I have one link to share with y'all, putting it in the chat. The American Library Association Core Interest Group Week recordings are up, and it's pretty much lots of really great cataloging information and technical services information, and they are free. You can watch all these recordings for free at your leisure. And there's a couple other people just joining in, so I'm going to put this link in the chat again. It's to the American Library Association Core Interest Group Week recordings that are free. Lots of really interesting stuff about cataloging, technical services, new research, interesting things libraries are doing. I watched a lot of them and found them very interesting and useful. And this week, Margaret would like to bring something to us that she has discovered with search results. And if I remember correctly, Margaret, y'all are on Zebra?
Right. Yeah, and I don't know whether it would make any difference if we were on Elasticsearch. Would that solve the whole problem? I don't know. Here's the problem. We have patrons who, I guess they're in a hurry. I guess they don't look all the way down the list of results that come up, whatever. We've had problems with patrons putting holds on things besides just the book. We had one who kept putting holds on the book club kit because that's what appeared first in the search results. And so CERT people and branch people are saying, you know, Koha is terrible because it does this. So we need to get rid of it because it's terrible because it does this. I want to know why it does this. And would you like me to share my screen?
Yes, please. Share your screen.
Never done it before. I'll see what I can do.
That's all right. We can help you. We can walk you through it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see, you should be able to see a green share screen button.
Yeah, I did that. I did that.
And then you'll pick which aspect of your screen you'd like to share. Take your time.
Okay.
While you're taking a look at that, I'll say I am unfamiliar with Zebra because we've been on Elastic for quite a while and we really like it. And Elastic does make some of these things easier because you would have access to the indexing weights, what field is indexed as what. And so if it's something like the 245 subfield H data that's weighing these search results towards the top, you could even like unindex that entirely or lessen its weight.
I wonder if it might be helpful to create a new product type for.
There's your screen, Margaret. You did it.
Yeah, but I'm okay. Wait a minute. There we go. That's it.
Actually, I think I know what the problem is, but I'd like to see it first.
That's how it looks in the public.
Okay, what we're seeing is your cataloging screen on your staff interface, so I'm not sure if you're sharing the right
I'm probably tab. Not. Can you see that?
We're still seeing the cataloging screen, so maybe stop the share and then start the share again.
Okay. Wait, I've lost it now.
First thing that it shares is a screen and not the actual screen. You want to share the screen option, not a window on the screen. That allows you to hear.
Now I can't get back away from it. I don't know how to go back.
Let's see. I can stop your sharing. There we
There
go.
we go. Thank
And
you.
why don't you try sharing again? And actually,
Okay.
I'm glad we're going through this because a lot of people have never shared a screen before
Mhm.
and they don't know how to do it.
Yeah, I obviously don't know how to do it.
It's very common.
So I've got options to share screen one. I'm on screen one, then there's screen two. That's my cataloging, but I couldn't go to a different tab. Was that the problem?
Let's
want
try the
screen.
green share screen button again.
Okay.
And then, as Lauren advised, on the top left might be your entire screen.
Mhm.
I would go ahead and try screen one because it sounds like we were looking at screen two before.
Mhm.
So you're on screen one right now, which is your Zoom, and that probably makes sense. Now we're seeing Google.
Yeah. Okay. Can I go to another tab?
Yep.
Is that
Try it. I see your
You're
cursor
looking for
moving.
American something? Results
yeah,
of search?
I'll just,
That Koha?
well, that's not the right thing. Wait a minute. Yeah, this is not working.
You try the tab your cursor's right above or below.
Yeah, the results.
try that
one.
There we go. Yes, we're seeing the book club kit real high up.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I clicked on the author to only get this because this is the illustration of it.
I
It always
see.
does this.
And you'd like that book that is currently down as search result number 4
Yeah.
to be search result number 1. Fred, you said you had an idea?
Try searching by or up where at top right says relevance. Just below the hoopla bar.
Okay. Yes, I see it.
See if changing one of those. And I think you can definitely change that in the administration screen. Try selecting popularity most to least. If that changes.
That changed it.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure you can make popularity the default.
Because a patron is not going to do that.
Right. You want that to be the default for everyone.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, give me a moment and see if I can get into our catalog.
I think that's a great idea, Fred, and many libraries would be interested in having it set that way as a default.
So how does that happen? How do you do that?
Fred's investigating. I think he'll get back to us.
Give me a moment. I'll put myself on mute and turn off the camera so you don't see my facial expressions, but I can still hear you. So if you're going to talk about me, just beware.
That sounds good.
I had an idea while Fred's digging. It may be beneficial to create an item type for the kits that does not permit patrons to put them on a hold.
Oh, but we want them to put them on hold.
Oh, okay.
Because their book club might want it and somebody else's book club might want it. So yeah, they need to be holdable.
But the people looking for a book club are going to be careful about finding the book club.
One would hope.
Yeah.
And my suggestion was
is book club a shelving location or a collection code?
The collection code, I think.
Because they could filter by that.
Well, they could, but they won't.
So I noticed that you, like, if you scroll down to that book club, I noticed that you put one with like a new picture in there that says book club kit. That was going to be my suggestion, but I wonder if you could make that even, since it's got both covers, I wonder if you could make that even more obnoxious. I'm all about making things obnoxious.
Yeah, I wish we could get rid of that other cover, but it comes from Amazon and you can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
There's no way to keep it from being there.
But if you made the one that has the book club kit message like loud and red and bright, maybe they would not have to click on it.
I will certainly suggest that.
This is Keisha. This is my first meeting, but for your image, couldn't you load one into Koha? To like, if you don't like that image, load one in and it should take over?
It doesn't take over.
Oh gosh.
We did load in the book club kit image, but the other one is the one from Amazon.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
See, could you stop sharing your screen? Then I'll share mine.
Yeah. Heather, you might have to unshare. Oh, there it is. Stop share. Got it.
Hey, you did it. All right, Margaret.
Okay, so let's see if this is going to work.
And welcome, Keisha. Glad you've joined us.
Okay, I'm going to go back here. Well, home, then Koha administration.
Yeah.
And under global system preferences, go down to searching. And where it says results display, default sort field order. And you can change it.
Oh, is it total number of checkouts for popularity?
Total number of checkouts, maybe. You have ascending, descending, but try, total number of checkouts. That might, obviously, I hope more people check out the book than the club kit. Give that a try.
Awesome. Thank you.
Let us know how it goes, Margaret, because I think a lot of people will be interested in this.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Hey, glad to share something.
I'll also mention like this sort of stuff was fixed when we went to Elastic, I think, for us. Like our default search is always Harry Potter, and in Zebra it would without fail give us like the VHS and like first or in the top 5 results, and after we switched to Elastic, the whatever relevancy settings are over there are slightly more refined, I would say. So we were getting book results more readily than like VHS and audio cassette records.
Yeah, I should mention, the instance I just showed you is on Zebra. I've been sort of practicing going over to Elasticsearch because I don't want to experiment on the production version. And I managed to get through without any hideous error messages on the test site yesterday. I'm going to make a backup and then see if I can do even more recent backup. Go through it one more time and then go on the production version.
Let us know how it goes.
But Elasticsearch would solve that problem, right? More or less.
It definitely gives you more control over it, and like you can tell more easily why it's doing what it's doing, which I think is like a main reason to switch, I would say.
Yeah, I really like Elasticsearch.
I guess we're just not confident or something that we can do it. I don't know.
It's a big change. It was scary for us. Searching, it's like making a change to cataloging is number 1 because that's gonna like disrupt the most, and then searching is number 2 for us. So we sat on it for a long time, but once we did switch, I think we're glad that we did, because it definitely helped the quality of our results.
Yeah, the author's catalog is running Elasticsearch. I started out with it. I can't remember what the preference choices are in there. I think I just kept it of date added to catalog. And have the most recent articles first.
Makes sense for your collection.
Yeah. Oh, and
Well, great.
I just wanted to say, warm welcome to, is it Aida? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, it is. Hello, Fred. It's nice to connect a face to a name.
Yeah, good.
How
is
everybody? It's also my first meeting.
Welcome to you and to all the newcomers. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
And you're in Sarajevo, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
And I've just started learning how to use Koha because I would like our university to switch from an in-house system that they currently use, which is a very simplified catalog. But I see that I will have a lot to learn, especially since it's been many years since I dealt with MARC, whether MARC 21 or Unimark. So I have dug up my old textbooks and I'm going through them again. I'm currently trying to find a way to add our books. Our developers are supposed to export the entries we have from the current system so that I can test it. I have 2 Koha installations. One is MARC 21 flavor. That one is installed on my old laptop. And another one is Unimark, and that's installed on a server back at work. Our developers have set aside some space for me. So both of them are test instances, and I can play around, delete some fields from the MARC frameworks if I need to. I made sure to make a copy of the default framework, so whatever I delete, I can get back from the default if necessary. And today I try to add some entries from Z3950 servers, and I can get everything in, but when I try to save them, I get a 500 error. So I'm not sure what's happening there, whether I made any mistakes while setting up my installation. And this happens on both MARC 21 and Unimark flavor installations.
Yeah, I haven't done a lot of Z3950 from Koha, partly because our hospital firewall won't let me get to any Z3950 ports. But have you tried searching or doing the Z3950 search in MARCedit and then saving that as a file and importing? That might be easier.
I haven't. That's also another thing that I will have to learn, how to use MARCedit. But tomorrow I'm going to try to add some records manually to see whether I have the same error or not.
Yeah, I've done a couple of presentations on MARCedit. I took some of the photos in my kitchen. But describe it as a Swiss Army knife. That's a lot more than you it has the capability of doing a lot more than you really need, but who knows what you're going to need next, and you're always finding a new blade.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking, wow, you can do that?
What I actually managed to do was I followed someone's post. I think it was Renee from Italy, who showed us how to add a file from MarkEdit, save it to a server, to the Koha server, and enter the link to that somewhere in the parameters. So what that does is it converts from mark to Unimark, vice versa. So I'm wondering whether there are any other parameters that I might need to check where I could do the similar thing, or whether I should focus on the standalone MarkEdit application.
This is Keisha again. From getting our OCL, I'm an avid user of OCLC, so that is Z.39 point whatever. Anyway, that is that port, so that there's a lot of settings in there, not a lot, but you have to get them right. Like there's a password that they just recently updated, and you'll get weird errors if any of those things aren't there, but the errors don't tell you what's not hooked up. It just, so you just, because I literally for the longest time was working with OCLC and it was fine. And then suddenly I'm getting this weird error and it won't directly import. I had to go through Koha and I was like, I can't figure this out. I talked to Koha, to my, our administrator for Koha. And then I also talked to OCLC at one point, like, what's going on? No one could figure out until later on. They're like, oh, do you have this password? I'm like, no.
Okay.
So I don't know if that has to do with the test environment. I would hope not. That said, making sure you have the right port number and all these things, because at one point in time, we even had 2 port numbers. The one that I had worked, but then it stopped working and I didn't know why. Other people had the correct one. So it's stuff like that where it's like, okay, if you don't have it set up, and it's not like a lot of different settings, but they're very specific settings, like the export, the gateway, the password that's in the gateway, things like that. And then also making sure in your, if you have a lot of, well, I don't know how your system would work, but with our system, with any diacritics or foreign language materials for us, world language materials for us, if you don't use Unicode, it doesn't come in correctly. So having it come in as Mark doesn't work. So you have to have it as Unicode set up to come in.
Right, you have to have the right flavor.
The good news is there's a large number of Z3950 servers out there that don't require passwords and permissions. And there's lists of them that make it pretty easy to go out and find somebody who's got what you need.
Oh no, the password is actually Koha because they upped their security so that you wouldn't get something. So it was coming from Koha. It wasn't OCLC. That's why they didn't know what the heck I was talking about. Like why it went wrong. It was a special thing that they were like, oh, we added security. I was like, great, but no one told us and no one gave us the password. So, but I'm one of the old school catalogers. It was me and then someone who retired, we're the only 2 who directly on a regular basis catalog straight from OCLC in and export in, whereas everybody else catalogs within and pulls in the record. So they never saw a problem. But me, I was always in OCLC. So as soon as it happened, I noticed it, but had no clue why. So, but that said, I don't know if that's your issue. I would assume they wouldn't have a password for test, but
let's see, Keisha, are you downloading from Connexion?
Yes.
Okay, what I do, and this is more cumbersome, but I think simpler, well, it works. But you've seen my, actually, maybe you haven't, a picture of the wrench being used to pound nails. That's what I do. But yeah, I select records in Connexion, export record in Mark, then admin options, download export files. Then I use Mark Edit to make sure everything is right. Then stage that or recompile in Mark Edit, stage it in Koha and import. And Michelle, are you referring to me about that's a lot of work, or?
Sounds like that
really,
sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, because once you have it set up, once it's set up, all I do is go OCLC, have the record, push F5, and it goes right into the system. So that's what I'm like. That's what I'm saying. When the password, before I realized it was a password issue, it stopped working, and I was like, what happened? I mean, I could still catalog in Koha fine, just pulling it from OCLC, but it was the other way around. It was a firewall. I mean, it's great to have more security. It's just basically let me know, give me the keys to the door. Like, it's not helpful if I can't get in. No, but anyway, so I don't know if they do that on the, I hope they don't do that in the test environment, but just saying there's little things like that where it doesn't tell you off gate that this is the issue, where it's not like, it makes you feel like it's user error, and it's not really. It's like, okay, you just don't have everything completely set up according to what they want, and it doesn't tell you. So I would check settings or ask whoever's helping you to look at the settings.
Oh, nobody's helping me. I'm doing everything by myself.
That's what we're here for.
Installation to everything else. So this is my first time dealing with Linux and Ubuntu and all the terminal commands. So when you mention a test setting, I'm not actually sure what that means because I just installed Koha and I just started using it.
Oh, I'm sorry, because I assumed when you said you had it in a test environment, I was thinking maybe you were going through a provider, because we have a test environment as well that is put on the server, you know, like all of that. So I assumed it was through a provider, but if you're doing it yourself, then I assume there's no password. But it could be that a port issue, because that was one of ours. Because there were literally 2 ports being used in my department, and one of them worked for a while, and then the other one stopped. And I unfortunately had the one that stopped. Oh no, it's fine. I just had to switch it. It's just one of those things where you're like, I don't know why this stopped working. So you have to go through everything.
Right. So you mentioned it might be an issue with a port.
And I'll add that, like, when you're getting 500 errors in Koha, that usually means it's having trouble talking with the server. So it could be something's just not quite configured right, or there's something in that record that's like throwing it off enough that it doesn't want to save it. It's like, yuck, I don't want that. I need you to fix something in the record before I can save that. A couple places to look are your about page in Koha. If you go up to more and about, sometimes that'll show you if there's a configuration error. And then I think probably your Apache logs might show you some information, but I'm gonna stop talking because that's out of my depth. Other people here might have more information on that.
It's also out of my depth because it's something I'll have to look up and see how to check. Right. So I don't know how to get those logs. That's another thing on my to learn list. But somebody mentioned diacritics. That might be a case because one of the authors listed is from Balkans region. So there is Central European characters in his last name. So I'll check that. And obviously, since this is my first time setting everything up, it might have been a user error, definitely. What else? I've checked the Z3950 servers. I currently only have Library of Congress, National Library of France, and the British Library, and I got the username and password from them. They recently sent it to me, so hopefully it shouldn't be that. But like I said, the installations are both completely empty. There are no records in them. So I can mess about and see what I can correct or change. And tomorrow I'll try and see whether I get the same error if I enter the book manually instead of using a Z39 server.
Another thing you mentioned that like it's completely empty. So there may be something that's not set up. Like you may not have a framework set up. And so when you're trying to pull the record in, it's not, there's nothing for it to go into.
I do actually. When I installed Mark 21 Flavor, I let it import several frameworks. So I have books and serials and a couple of other frameworks. When I did the Unimark, I didn't do that. So it only had the default framework, fast acquisition, and fast add and acquisition framework. So I had to make a copy of the default framework to create a booklets, workbooks. And when I tried adding a record in Unimark, it kept throwing up errors because it had all these fields that were not relevant to book. For example, music incipit and cartography materials. So I thought, well, it's my own laptop. It's a quote unquote testing environment. So I'm going to delete these fields. And if it turns out that they're creating issues, I can always recreate it from the default framework. So that's something that I'm going to test tomorrow. Hopefully, it will solve the issue.
And this might help. What I did when I was doing Author's Catalog, I created a couple of records. And in, let's say, for the 245, title goes here, 010, LCCN goes here, 060. You just describe what the field is, and that you can use that to make sure that the fields are displaying correctly and that the ones that you want are displaying. I'm not sure it'd be that helpful for you, but might give it a try.
I just put a link in the chat. I put a record up on the Koha wiki that's sort of a good enough bibliographic record that is a version of this. So that and that record's available to download and in a Mark 8 format, and there's also, you know, a display version that can be copied and pasted. So that might be helpful.
I think I actually tried that earlier today, and I don't think the Mark 8 version is available. Yeah, sorry, the file you have requested does not exist. So it's not there to be downloaded, unfortunately. But I suppose I could copy and paste, although I'm not sure how exactly. Do I just paste it into a text file, or?
You can copy and paste it very easily into the advanced bibliographic editor or the basic bibliographic editor, and then delete and retype the subfield characters. They won't copy and paste correctly. Thank you for letting me know about the problem with the Mark 8 version. I will get that fixed, and I'll see if it's on my computer. I had some computer dying and reviving issues, so it might take me a little bit of time to locate the file.
And I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Advanced
or basic. There's two bibliographic editors in Koha. The default is usually set to the basic bibliographic editor, and that will show you tabs with field boxes for putting in the data. Or you can then, if you've enabled it in your administration, have an advanced bibliographic editor that's more a blank slate.
Something we recently learned, that your Z3950, I don't know what, so there's a library in France that uses Unimark, and we use Mark 21. And I thought I was supposed to put in Unimark because that's the library that we're pulling from. And we got weird information, and it was just weird. And so I changed it to Mark 21, and it worked perfectly. So it's like whatever you select in that Z3950 needs to match what's in your system preference. So if your system preference uses Unimark, your Z3950 needs to use Unimark. If your system preference says use Mark 21, then all of your Z3950s need to have Mark 21.
Right. I think I came across that, and I had the same result of very strange records. So I went back and changed all of those servers to what was on my system. So I don't think that's it. It might be some, I guess, preference that I either missed during the original installation. I don't know, it's still a mystery, and I'm still learning to use it. And I'm slowly going through the cataloging manual instructions, and I'm going to need a lot of time to go through everything and to basically relearn correctly, because the system that we're using now is like a bare bones plain text where everything is done manually. There's no any flavor remark, any bibliographic format. It's just plain text. And I will also need to find how to catalog records which have the books which have several copies. Have you dealt with that?
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
The biblio describes the book. It defines what the book is, and then you have items for the physical object. And if you've got 6 of them, you put in 6 items.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
so that is if they're the same edition or if they're sufficiently identical.
Yeah, sufficiently identical is a good phrase.
Right, so I might have 10 copies of a book because students might need it for exams. They need to study for exams.
Right, so you'd make 10 items of that book.
Okay,
which is actually fairly simple. Once you get the biblio in, usually you can click on save and go to save and edit items. And that lets you go ahead and put in the additional details, and you can then duplicate those as needed.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a way
that's the easy part.
Yeah.
Is there a way for you to show us the errors you're getting, or how you're doing the process? Because it's possible it's a small thing in how you're doing it. And that would help us to identify.
I might need to do that next time, because the computer I'm using now, where Zoom is installed, is a desktop Windows computer. And the laptop I have is a Linux where Koha is installed. So I don't have Zoom here. I don't know whether there's a Linux version of Zoom. So
there is.
There is. Okay. So I'll have to look that up, install it on that computer so that I can share my screen. There's no way to record what I'm doing on the laptop currently. So I guess I'll be there for the next session.
That would be great. We'd really like to hear how it's going, what you're learning, what questions you have. And also, I put a link in the chat to the Koha-US System Administration Group. That importing records is very much where our two groups overlap.
Oh, that would be great, because I still have to receive a reply from our developers about when they're going to have my exported, what's the word for it? my export, basically. There are currently nearly 10,000 copies, and about 5,000 of them are unique records. So I need to see how to prepare that to import it into Koha.
I had a question for all of you catalogers because I'm in acquisitions. And so I'm trying to look, we're always trying to streamline, of course, in libraries as far as make our funding, stretch it as far as we can. And my question is, a lot of times, since I am not a professional cataloger, I will go ahead and use the Z3950 and get it usually from the Library of Congress, the record. I know that sometimes there are specific fields that catalogers may put in for series, like the 245, I think. And anyhow, my question to all of you is, we subscribe and it costs quite a bit of money to like Sky River. Is there a benefit to utilizing that service over the Z39? And if so, what might it be?
Thank you for that question, Christy. This is a very common question, and it varies from location to location. For example, we are a single site library. We're a museum library, so we are very specialized. We do pay to subscribe to OCLC and use it because of the economy of scale. We're specialized, but we find so much available copy cataloging in OCLC from other specialized libraries that saves a lot of time and makes it very cost efficient. And also when I can find any record, however brief, it saves me all that time and energy from the original cataloging. I can just, bam, export it via the gateway interface into Koha. Also, I find a lot of authority records. There's no gateway interface from OCLC Connection into Koha yet for authority records, but still, I can download so many authority records, have my batch imported into Koha, boom, saves me a lot of time. So we find that it's worth the money. What we have done, we're federal, so we have to justify expenditures for this and write justifications. So what we did is at a certain point, we did, I just kept statistics, like how many, for a certain period of months, how many records did I find that were copy versus original cataloging, and to justify the cost. We also participate in OCLC for interlibrary loan, and we do lend. So that's another place that we have a lot of, yes, it costs money, but it's so much more efficient for us.
Also for, like she was saying, copy cataloging, like also deriving. So if I'm like looking for subject headings, I'll look up something that I know, or like I think it's going to exist somewhere else, and I'm able to just copy those subject headings really quick because of the fact that there's so many records that there's likely to be something that's similar in there. Another thing that I get from using OCLC is just like, other people use it for like world discovery. Like if you're a public library and you want other people to know that you have these, access to this, you can also get interlibrary loan that way. And then also outside, I work at a public library, so we use Dewey. LC does put Dewey call numbers on there, but they're usually like, the book might be on your pet dog, but it's specifically about Dalmatians, and it might have the call number for, it'll be like something weird. It'll be like either the call number for dog, and this is about dog medicine, something like that. Whereas usually somebody would have updated it, or they would have put they'll put better subject headings in there for somebody who actually is going to use it more so for a public facing thing. So that's, yes, it's usually good for that. Or also if you get something in a series. someone has usually put the series information on at least one of the books in there. So I'll go look at one of the books and snatch that and put it on the newest one if it hasn't been updated. Things like that, which would take me a while just to like code it in. I can usually just copy and paste.
And conversely, we can't afford to belong to OCLC or Sky River. We do everything one at a time through Z39.50, and it takes forever.
Yeah, but it takes a lot less time than it does to do original cataloging on the whole collection.
Yeah, we have.
That's for sure.
OCLC. I've actually discussed this with my boss. Is it worth it? And the time saved is worth the hassle. And I'm not sure how much it costs per book. But on the other hand, seeing as how I installed Koha my own, and I can take care of all the problems, we're saving something like $10,000 a year over what we're paying Cersei Dynex. I think there are enough new people here that so I can tell the story. When I arrived at MedStar in 2005, we were on Horizon, and came with manuals. So I asked, "So who's the system administrator?" And everyone looked at me and said, "You are." So yeah, Ada, you're not alone. A lot of us have had to learn this thing as we go along. I've probably built and destroyed more Koha incidents than most people. I see Bruce, you're nodding.
Yeah, incident
keep
is
doing
good.
it. Keep doing it until you get it right.
It's only bits. Nobody's dying.
Yeah. Oh, and I work in a hospital, so yeah, people do die from misinformation or lack of it. But not because I didn't put in Koha correctly.
Yeah, my field's ancient medieval history. They're all dead anyway.
Well, we do have a few more minutes in our hour. Does we have Miranda in the chat saying they're using BTCat instead of OCLC, and the cost saving vastly outweighs the handful of records found only in OCLC for them. Thank you for that, Miranda. Yeah. Does anybody else have anything that they'd like to bring to the group?
I just tossed that bug in there. That's the cover image issue that we were seeing earlier on Margaret's screen. So if you want to copy yourself on that, it is a bug. It's a sign.
I have a question. I don't know if you guys can answer it for me. I like to use the, oh goodness, I can't even remember the thing it's called. In the advanced annotator, there's the geez, my mind went blank.
It's okay. Take your time. The advanced, okay, you're talking about the advanced bibliographic editor.
Macros.
Yes.
I created a macro for our coworker to put in the line for the accelerated reader. And in subfield Z, where we put the test number, she likes to put the pound sign there and then write the test number, but the macro won't populate the pound sign. And I don't know if that's possible or if the pound sign is some kind of special code that it, and that's why it won't populate.
Ooh.
Generally a bad idea to put that sort of thing anyway.
Why is that?
Well, as you suggest, a lot of characters are special characters with special functions in strange places. It might work fine here, but when you get it out into some other process, it might crash. And generally, you can add a pound sign in the display if you really feel a need for it.
Okay.
And there's certainly no data contained in that character.
Yeah, I'd be tempted to try to use something different, like, you know, NO period, if it means number. Or,
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it could be that depending on what browser you're using, those macros are just like at this time, at least unless it's a complicated one and I don't know how to make those yet, they're just pretty much saying like this is text, but your browser, if you combine certain things, it will become a macro for the browser, not for Koha. So it could be that those, because I had one where it was leaping to another tab and I was like, what did I do? And I realized I inadvertently, by putting stringing characters together, was telling the browser to go to a new tab. Okay. And I was like, oh, this is not going to work.
And Jason just put a related macro in the chat about the pound sign in Rancors. You'll notice that some people call the advanced cataloging editor Rancor. That was its nickname in development.
So basically what this bug is saying is exactly what you guys are saying. That pound sign means something different in the coding level, at the coding level. So that's why it gets stripped out. And it doesn't look like this has any movement to sort of fix that. So I would probably go along with the suggestion of using like NO dot or something like that.
Okay, all right. I'm glad I asked.
Yes, and also it's very easy for if the new people aren't aware of this, to get an account on Bugzilla, and then you can CC yourself on a bug. So every time there's a comment or change on the bug, you get an email about it. You can comment on it to say, hey, we would really like this because of our workflow. This is why we need it, which really helps developers. And you can also add votes to it, so that bring some attention. And then also come to groups like this, call attention to the macro, and maybe other people will say, hey, yeah, we could use that, and support it. And that helps a bug or development or patch get attention.
Well, here I am with my crescent wrench to pound nails. But one thing I found really useful is a programmable keypad. You can put in all your keystrokes and it will do, for example, I use this a lot until I realized that you can actually do this in MarkEdit. Was needed to copy something from the 099A to the 952P. So and they're always in the same place in the record. So come down here, select this, copy this, go up to 4, go to the end, paste. But as I say, you can do it in MarkEdit faster. But I still use it for a lot of things.
I'm also putting a link in the chat to the Koha community wiki, where people can copy and contribute advanced cataloging editor macros. Well, we have just a couple more minutes. Anybody have anything else?
Is it still true that you can only have a certain number of macros? There's a finite number that you can have?
I don't know. That's a very good question.
And is there an intelligible error message when you hit that point?
You have made an error.
I don't know if this is along the same lines as the pound sign, but when we get records from our vendor, it's the UTF-8 character set. And when we get foreign books, you know, there's often diacritics, and they're coming up as question marks in our records. So I usually have to go in and fix them. Is that just a normal thing that you guys encounter? Or?
That's not normal. That means that your records are being imported with the incorrect mark flavor.
Yeah. So you have to have them coming in as using UT. Like if you have yours set up for mark 21 or whatever, And
We
it's
need to check that.
they have to be the same, because that's how we were getting the same thing to happen. We thought we had it for Unicode, but there was one area, depending on where it is, that it wasn't set up, and those were coming in weird.
I've also seen this where the code type was different, and those are annoying. But I have found workarounds for them. You can force the in my case it was Z3950 services, where I could instruct it what code base to use, so it would come in without all the question marks.
So even though I'm looking at my import, where I import these records, and under my settings, the character encoding, the default is UTF-8, which is how they're coming in. Are you saying that there may be something else in admin that I need to look at?
No, I'm saying what I found, that some of the Z3950 servers would not output in UTF-8 unless you told it to. There's a setting in some of them that you can fix for that.
Okay, yeah, these are coming in from my vendors. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it has to, you have to know that what format they've been exported in, but also when you're importing the file, that's where you go to tools and stage your MARC records. That's where you have to make sure you have the correct flavor of MARC to bring it in also. So those two settings have to match. And if they don't match, then you don't get the diacritics correctly, or the other character sets correctly. You'll get those weird question marks.
And if you touch it in MARC edit, you can accidentally undo that, because I was doing that when we were fixing the records, because MARC edit also defaults not for Unicode. So you have to go into MARC edit and change it so that it defaults to Unicode, because I was accidentally undoing it until I noticed it, because I'm like, what's wrong with the record? The record looked good when I brought it into MARC edit, but then when it was coming in with question marks. So it's consistency everywhere.
Thank you.
And this is apropos of not a whole lot, but Z3950, you can just get a bunch of ISBNs and a file and have MARC edit do a Z3950 search on those. The problem is at the Library of Congress, it'll do one or two of them and then stop. So you have to do them one by one. But
I found that in some others too.
Yeah. What I would do in your case is the wrong way, of course. Just get a list. Get as many ISBNs or LC control numbers, used to be known as the LC card number, which is field 010 in MARC, what, 8 or 28? Anyway, that's what I use. And then put it into MARC edit, have it do the search, download all your records.
Back on Margaret's question, I threw that bug in the chat as well, and there's a workaround listed there. It has to do with like how many things are displayed in your REST settings. So there's a system preference you can up, and that'll allow you to have more macros until it gets fixed.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. Well, we are just at the top of the hour, so I want to thank everybody for coming and remind you that we're going to have another meeting in April on April 27th later in the day. Hope you can join us. This is an experiment for some additional quarterly cataloging special interest group meetings, and our last one was very well attended, so I think these will probably continue. So hope to see you then. Thank you everybody for joining us, and if Jason could end the recording, that would be great.